You ever walk into a place and instantly feel like something is off, but you can't explain why? Not loud, not obvious, just wrong. That's exactly what Emma said the moment she stepped into the attic. And the strange part, she almost didn't go up there because the house itself looked perfect. Old, yes, built sometime in the late 1800s, but clean, quiet, restored just enough to feel livable, but not enough to erase its history. The kind of place people call charming, the kind of place that hides things very well. Emma had just moved in 2 days earlier. She was alone. New city, new start, no family nearby, no one to check in on her, which made what happened next even worse, because there was no one there to hear her when she realized she shouldn't have gone into that attic. It started with a sound, late at night, a soft, dragging noise, not footsteps, not something falling, more like something being pulled slowly across wood. Emma froze in her bed, staring at the ceiling. The sound came again, long, slow, deliberate, and it was directly above her. The attic. She told herself it was the house settling. Old wood shifting, temperature changes, normal things. That's what people always say, until they hear it again, and again, and again. The next morning, she tried to ignore it, made coffee, opened windows, let sunlight fill the house. But even in daylight, something felt wrong. It wasn't fear. Not yet. It was curiosity. The kind that quietly grows until you can't ignore it anymore. By noon, she was standing at the bottom of the attic stairs, looking up. The door was slightly open, just a few inches, and she was sure she had closed it the night before. She stood there for a long moment, listening. Nothing, no sound, no movement, just silence. The kind of silence that feels like it's waiting. Emma slowly pushed the door open. The hinges creaked softly. Dust floated in the air as light spilled into the attic. It looked normal. Old boxes, wooden beams, a single small window letting in pale light. Nothing unusual, nothing threatening. And yet, she didn't step in right away, because something about it felt staged, like everything was exactly where it was supposed to be. Too perfect, too still. After a few seconds, she forced herself to step inside. The wood creaked under her weight. She moved slowly, looking around. Boxes filled with old clothes, broken furniture. Nothing that explained the noise. Nothing that explained the feeling. Then she saw it. Near the center of the attic, a section of the floor. At first, it didn't stand out. But the longer she looked, the more obvious it became. The wood didn't match. Every other plank in the attic was aged, darkened, worn by time. But this section, lighter, smoother, newer, not brand new, but definitely not original, like it had been replaced or covered. Emma stepped closer, her footsteps slower now. Careful. She crouched slightly, running her fingers along the edge. The seam was clean, too clean, almost invisible unless you were looking for it, which meant someone had tried to hide it. Her heart started beating faster, not out of fear, out of realization. This wasn't just old house noise. This was something intentional, something hidden. She pressed lightly on the wood. It didn't move, solid, but not right. Then she noticed something else. A faint scratch mark near one corner, like something had been dragged across it. Repeatedly, her stomach tightened, because suddenly the sound from the night before made sense. Dragging from above her room, right here. Emma slowly stood up, her eyes scanning the attic again. Now it didn't feel empty anymore. Now it felt watched, not by something visible, but by something that knew she had noticed. She stepped back, then another step. Her instinct was screaming at her to leave, close the door, pretend she never saw it. But curiosity is a dangerous thing, and Emma had already gone too far. She went back downstairs, tried to distract herself, but it didn't work, because now she knew something was there. And once you know something is hidden, you can't unknow it. That night, the sound came again, louder this time, dragging, slow, heavy, directly above her. Emma sat up immediately, her chest tight, listening. The sound moved across the ceiling, from one side of the attic to the other. Then it stopped. Silence. Complete. She didn't sleep after that. By morning, she had made a decision. She was going to open it. Whatever was beneath that floor, she needed to see it. Not because she wanted to, but because she couldn't live in that house without knowing. By midday, she had gathered tools. A small crowbar, a flashlight. Her hands trembled slightly as she climbed the attic stairs again. This time the door was fully closed, tighter than before. She hesitated, then pushed it open. The attic looked the same, but it felt different, heavier, like the air itself had changed. Emma walked straight to the mismatched section of floor. No hesitation now. She knelt down, placed the crowbar at the edge, took a deep breath, and pulled. The wood didn't move at first. Then a soft crack. Dust fell into the gap. She pulled again. Harder. Another crack. The plank shifted slightly. Her heart pounded in her ears. She stopped for just a second, because from beneath the wood, she heard something. Not loud, not clear, but unmistakable. A faint movement from below. Emma slowly looked down at the small gap she had created. Darkness stared back at her, deep, endless. And then something moved inside it. She froze, every instinct telling her to run, to stop, to leave. But instead, she pulled the plank free, and what she saw beneath it didn't make sense, because it wasn't just a hidden space. It was a room, and it was much deeper than it should have been, much deeper than the house could possibly allow. Emma leaned closer, shining her flashlight down. The beam cut through the darkness, revealing wooden walls. Old, decayed, and far below a floor, at least 2 stories down. Her breath caught. That was impossible. This was just an attic. There shouldn't be anything beneath it, let alone something this deep. Her mind struggled to process it, but her eyes didn't lie. This wasn't part of the house. This was something added, something hidden. And then she saw it. At the bottom of that space, a shape, not clear, not fully visible, but definitely there. Something that didn't belong. Something that looked like it had been waiting. Emma's hand tightened around the flashlight, her voice barely a whisper. "Hello," the word echoed downward, fading into the darkness. And for a moment, nothing answered. Then, from deep below, something moved again. And this time, it moved closer. Emma didn't breathe. She didn't move. She just stared into the darkness as that shape slowly shifted below. At first, it was subtle. A slight change in shadow. Something repositioning itself just outside the reach of her flashlight. Then it stopped, and the silence that followed felt wrong. Not empty, not quiet, but aware. Emma swallowed, her throat dry. Her instinct told her to back away, to close the attic, to pretend she never saw any of this. But something deeper, something quieter inside her kept her there, watching, waiting, trying to understand. She adjusted her grip on the flashlight and leaned forward just a little more. The beam stretched deeper into the space. Dust particles floated through the light. The wooden walls below looked older than the house itself, darker, rougher, like they had been built in a different time, or for a different purpose. And then a sound, soft, a faint scrape. From below, Emma flinched. Her heart slammed against her chest, because this time the sound wasn't random. It was deliberate, like something reacting to her presence. Her voice came out again, quieter now. "Hello." The word barely made it down, but something heard it, because this time there was an answer. Not a voice, not words, but movement. Clearer now. Closer. Emma's fingers tightened. The flashlight trembled slightly. And then the beam caught it. For just a second. A shape. Tall. Too tall for the space it stood in. Its form distorted by shadow, but unmistakably human. Except it wasn't moving like a person. It didn't shift naturally. It didn't breathe. It just adjusted, like something trying to remember how to stand. Emma's breath hitched. She leaned back slightly, panic rising in her chest. No, no, her mind raced. This wasn't possible. There couldn't be someone down there. There couldn't be anything down there. But she had seen it. She knew she had. And then the light flickered. Just once. But it was enough. The darkness swallowed the figure again. Emma pulled back quickly, nearly dropping the flashlight. Her heart pounded so hard it felt painful. She scrambled to her feet, stepping away from the opening. But before she could move any further, a sound came from below. A voice, faint, broken, like it hadn't been used in a very long time. Emma froze, every part of her body locked in place. Her eyes slowly moved back toward the opening. "Don't what?" she whispered. Silence. Then, "Leave," the word echoed up, barely reaching her. Emma's stomach dropped, because the voice didn't sound normal. It didn't sound weak or trapped. It sounded wrong, like something imitating a voice it didn't fully understand. Her fear shifted. This wasn't someone asking for help. This was something trying to keep her there. Emma took another step back, her breathing uneven now. I'll get help," she said, her voice shaking. The moment the words left her mouth, the atmosphere changed. Instantly, the air felt heavier, colder, and from below, a sudden, violent movement. Something slammed against the walls of the hidden space. Wood cracked. Dust burst upward through the opening. Emma screamed and stumbled backward, falling onto the attic floor. The flashlight rolled from her hand, its beam spinning wildly across the ceiling. The sound continued, scraping, clawing, climbing. Her eyes snapped back to the opening, and for a split second, she saw it again. Closer now, much closer, its face, or what should have been a face, partially illuminated. Skin stretched unnaturally tight, eyes too wide and empty. Not hollow, not lifeless, but empty like nothing was behind them. And its mouth, it moved, slowly, like it was trying to form words. "Stay," Emma's scream tore through the attic. She scrambled to her feet, grabbing the flashlight and running toward the door. Her hands fumbled with the handle. She yanked it open and slammed it behind her, nearly tripping as she rushed down the stairs. Her mind was chaos, her body shaking, her lungs burning. She didn't stop until she was outside, standing in the yard, breathing hard, staring at the house. It looked the same, quiet, still, normal, but she knew what was inside. She had seen it, she had heard it, and worst of all, it had seen her. Minutes passed, maybe more. Emma tried to think, tried to make sense of what had just happened. Her first instinct was to leave, pack her things, drive away, never come back. But something stopped her, because that thing, whatever it was, it had spoken, it had reacted, and that meant it wasn't just trapped, it was aware. And if it was aware, then how long had it been there? How many people had lived in that house before her? How many had heard the sounds, seen the floor, and chosen to ignore it? Emma turned slowly, looking back at the house. One window stood out, the small attic window, and for a moment she thought she saw movement behind it. Her breath caught. She stepped back. But then nothing. Just reflection, just glass. Just her own fear staring back at her. She shook her head. "No, I'm not staying here," she muttered. She went back inside, quickly grabbing her keys, her phone, a few essentials. Her hands were still shaking. Her thoughts scattered. But as she reached the front door, she stopped, because something didn't feel right. The house was too quiet, too still, even compared to before. And then a sound, soft, faint, from above. Emma's eyes slowly lifted toward the ceiling, toward the attic. A single slow drag, then another. Her blood ran cold, because this time it wasn't contained. The sound didn't stay in one place. It moved across the ceiling, following her, step by step. Emma didn't wait. She opened the door and ran, out into the daylight, into the open air, away from the house. She got into her car, hands trembling as she started the engine. But before she could drive, she looked up, just once, at the attic window. And this time she didn't imagine it. Something was there, standing behind the glass, tall, still, watching her. And even from that distance, she could see its mouth moving, slowly, silently, repeating the same word, over and over, stay. Emma didn't stay. The moment she saw it in the attic window, clearly this time, she pressed the accelerator and drove. Fast, too fast. Her hands gripped the wheel so tightly her knuckles turned white, her breathing shallow and uneven as the house disappeared in the rearview mirror. But even as distance grew between her and that place, the feeling didn't leave. It followed her, like something unseen had latched onto her thoughts, replaying every second. The floor, the opening, the voice, the face. She drove for nearly 20 minutes before pulling over. Her chest felt tight, her mind spinning. And for the first time since it all started, she let herself think clearly. What she had seen wasn't normal. It wasn't someone trapped. It wasn't an animal. And it definitely wasn't something that should exist beneath an attic floor. But something about it felt intentional, like it had been put there, hidden, sealed away. Emma grabbed her phone with shaking hands and began searching. The house, the address, anything. At first, nothing unusual came up. Basic listing information, old sale records, nothing that explained what was under that attic. But then, buried deeper in the results, an old forum post. No date, no clear source, just a thread with a title that made her stomach drop. Anyone know what happened at the Walker House attic? Emma clicked it. The page loaded slowly. The text was simple, almost careless. Like whoever wrote, it didn't expect anyone to take it seriously. It described strange noises, scratching sounds, something moving above the ceiling at night. Emma's heart pounded. It was exactly the same. The post went on to mention the attic, and then the floor. Emma felt a cold chill run through her body, because the details matched perfectly. A section of wood that didn't belong, a hidden space beneath it, and then the final line. Previous owner said never open it. Someone did once. They left the house the same day, never came back. Emma stared at the screen, her reflection faint in the glass, her thoughts racing. So she wasn't the first. Others had found it. Others had opened it. and they had left, just like she did. But something about that post didn't sit right, because it didn't mention what was inside, only that it shouldn't be opened, which meant either they didn't see it, or they saw something worse. Emma scrolled further. There were a few replies, most dismissive, calling it fake, urban legend. But one reply stood out, short, simple, and far more recent. I saw it too. It's not trapped. Don't go back. Emma's breathing slowed, not out of calm, but because something inside her had shifted. That sentence, it's not trapped, that meant something very specific. It meant whatever was under that floor wasn't stuck there. Emma slowly lowered the phone, her eyes unfocused for a moment, because now everything felt different. The sounds, the movement, the way it spoke. Don't leave. Stay. That wasn't something asking for help. That was something trying to keep her there. A trap. The realization hit her hard. And suddenly, she felt very, very exposed. Emma quickly looked around. The road was empty. Fields stretched out in every direction. No cars, no people, just silence. Too much silence. Her heart began to race again. Because if it wasn't trapped, then how had it stayed hidden for so long? Why hadn't anyone else seen it? Why now? Why her? Her fingers tightened around the phone again. She needed answers, real ones. So she searched deeper. Property records, historical archives, anything tied to the house. And this time she found something. An article, old, faded, difficult to read, but enough was still visible. It mentioned the house being built in the late 1800s, owned by a man named Thomas Walker, described as reclusive, strange, obsessed with isolation. The article hinted at rumors, disappearances, people going missing in the area, but no proof, no investigation that led anywhere. And then one final detail. During renovations in the early 1900s, workers reported finding a structure within the house that was not part of the original design. It didn't specify what. It didn't explain further, but it mentioned something else. The workers refused to continue, and the project was abandoned. Emma's stomach turned, because now it made sense. The hidden space wasn't an accident. It was built, intentionally, and then sealed, not to hide something, but to contain it. Her hands began to shake again. Because if that was true, then opening it had done something irreversible. Emma looked at her reflection again, her face pale, eyes wide, and then her phone screen flickered. Just for a second. She frowned, looked down at it. Nothing unusual, just her reflection again. But something felt off. She tilted the phone slightly, and then she saw it. Behind her, in the reflection, something standing near the edge of the road, far enough to almost miss, but close enough to see. Tall, still, watching. Emma's breath caught in her throat. She didn't turn around. Couldn't. because every instinct told her if she looked directly at it, it would be closer. Slowly, very slowly, she lowered the phone, her hands trembling, her entire body tense. And then she turned, just a little, just enough to look. There was nothing there. Empty road, open field. No movement, no figure, nothing. Emma exhaled sharply, stepping out of the car, her heart pounding, her eyes scanning everything. Okay, okay, it's just a sound. Right behind her. Soft, close. Too close. Emma spun around. Nothing. But then her car door creaked slightly, as if something had just brushed against it. Her breath came in short bursts now. Panic building again, because deep down she already knew. It hadn't stayed in the house. Emma backed away from the car slowly, her eyes wide, her voice barely a whisper. No, no, no. And then from somewhere just behind her shoulder, a voice. Clear this time, right next to her ear. You opened it. Emma screamed and stumbled forward, nearly falling. She turned wildly, but again nothing. Just empty air. But the presence, the feeling, it was there, right beside her, watching, waiting. And then the voice again. Calm, almost gentle. You saw me. Emma shook her head, backing away further, tears forming in her eyes. I didn't mean to. A pause, long, heavy, and then stay. The word wasn't loud. It didn't need to be, because it felt like it wasn't just spoken. It was placed inside her mind. Emma clutched her head, dropping to her knees, her thoughts no longer her own. Images flashed in her mind. The attic, the floor, the darkness below, and something deeper, something vast, something that didn't belong to that house, but had been waiting there for someone to open it, for someone to see it, for someone to carry it out. Emma gasped, her breath hitching, because she understood now. It didn't need to escape physically. It only needed to be seen, to be known, to be remembered. That was how it moved. That was how it spread. Through awareness, through fear, through anyone who looked into that darkness and survived. Emma slowly lifted her head. Her expression changed. Not calm, not safe, but empty, like something had shifted inside her. She stood up slowly, her movements slightly off, like her body was still hers, but something else was learning how to use it. Her phone slipped from her hand, falling onto the road. The screen cracked slightly, still recording, still capturing everything. Emma turned, not toward the house, not toward safety, but toward the open road ahead, and began walking, slowly, silently, her face unreadable, her eyes distant. And as she moved, her lips began to shift, forming words, repeating them quietly, over and over. Stay. The camera on the phone continued recording for several more seconds, until the battery finally died, leaving only silence and an empty road, and somewhere far away, another house, another attic, another floor that doesn't quite match. If you made it this far, something about this story stayed with you. And that's exactly how these things spread. So before you go, tell me in the comments, what would you have done? Would you have opened it or walked away? And if this story gave you even a moment of unease, share it with someone who loves real horror. Because sometimes the scariest things don't chase you. They wait for you to find them. And if you're new here, this is Night Archive, where every story leaves something behind. Not all of it stays in the video.